Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Manic About Movies. I am Aaron Tevino, and this is my co-host.
Chris.
Yes, that is Chris. And this week, I made him watch The Matador, the 2005 cinematic classic, starring Pierce Brosnan. Take it away, Chris.
So the movie it's really short, but it was a really fun and enjoyable movie that it was only I think the whole like from start to finish is only like an hour 37 minutes, which for a movie, especially nowadays, really short. Uh but it overall is a fun piece to watch, and I recommend if you have the time to watch it. It starts with introducing Pierce Brosnan, aka Julian, by him waking up in bed next to some lady who's probably a hooker, and he paints his toenails, which is kind of weird for the time, and burns some stuff. And he's just then it transitions to him, chilling, acting all cool, getting hit on by the old ladies and the moms. And he just, then it rapidly picks up to a car blowing up because, he's an assassin and that's what he does.
He's a hitman. He's hitting men while ladies are hitting on him.
And, you get a brief introduction to him and like his, ladies, good looks, and murder. That's him. And then it moves over and introduces the other main guy, Danny, who's, your typical person who, he works at 9 to 5. And he has a wife and a house, and it's just raining, and he wakes up because it's thundering. And him and his wife, are chilling, making love, and then a tree busts out of nowhere and cucks him. But
Cucks him. It's
yeah, they
the
stop
tree.
having.
The tree starts having sex with his wife.
Well, he was having sex, and then they stopped because
Yeah, the tree
crashes
was a
through the
cock
kitchen.
block. The tree was a cock block. That's for certain.
I mean, who knows? Because right before the scene ends, he goes, "Still horny,"
Yep,
and
that's
they
true.
they could have finished.
They
But
sure could have.
he's just a typical character that like I feel like was designed so that most people could like feel like they resonate with because he's not far off from the average American in what he does and his work. But then it moves on to both of them going to the airport, going to good old Mexico, where Danny is trying to do a really important trip and Julian's on a mission. And, they're both there and they're both doing this thing. And Danny, really good meeting. Julian, just fooling around. And Danny, once he gets back from meeting, goes to the bar. Julian then meets him at the bar. They start, getting into Julian, not the most likable when they
No,
first start talking.
definitely not.
Uh, you know, it, the way
Says some suspect things.
he says some suspect things, and some of the lines were they were just they weren't even funny. I feel like at some points they're just kind of cringy, and it the humor I could tell was a bit dated at some points. And there was a theme, but that I'll bring up later. But there was a theme throughout this movie that I thought was really funny, but it wasn't then, and uh, it was just kind of cringy. But they start talking more and more, and they get to know each other. And Julian embarrasses himself in front of Danny a bit, and they're both drunk. But uh after that, they split their ways. Julian goes back to his room. Danny goes back to his room. Julian, I think then you see that he has a sniper rifle and he's on his mission. Uh,
Yep.
Julian or Danny and his partner talk about them presentation not going too well, even though they thought it was really well. And Julian then, uh, and then I believe, is it, I'm
I
trying
know.
to think.
Are you talking about the Adam Scott, the guy from like Step Brothers and Parks and Rec? His
Uh,
sales team partner.
yeah,
That's like,
yeah.
oh, I got to go back to the States. You cool to stay here?
Hmm.
Is that who you're talking about?
Well, I was trying to think of oh, no, 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 yeah. And it's just I was just trying to follow. I lost train of thought of where it was. And Julian then tries to scope out his target, and uh you try to you get a little bit of hints, but you not so much about him being off touch and him not being where he is at 100%. But then they both return back to the hotel, and you know they Julian finds Danny and embarrasses and tries to apologize for him embarrassing each other. And I thought you would have maybe seen a bigger role from the third guy, but I guess not. It was just kind of them two.
Oh
And
wait, I think. Sorry to interrupt. Are you talking about like the hitman's boss, the guy that gives him the stuff where they're like talking around the fountain scene?
uh yeah, well, like there it was him. He was just chilling. He was at like he was getting food and he was scoping out his target, and then there was like he was talking to his boss, and there was three Mexican
Yeah,
ladies there watching him.
and
You
he's
know,
like, "You have to do the old sucky fucky, huh?"
yeah,
To the 17 or 18-year-olds, whatever they are.
yeah,
Yeah, Julian's a piece of shit. Continue.
yeah. And he meets back up with Danny, and he apologizes to Danny, and he gets Danny to go with him to a Matador or a Mexican bullfight. You know,
Hmm?
the name of the movie. And
Correctamundo.
and that's when they're talking and chilling, and Danny then starts to learn more about Julian, and that Julian is an assassin.
Hmm.
And then they go down and they start. Danny picked out his target that he wants to kill, and so Julian takes him on the path and what he would do to kill him. And he shows him, and Danny's in disbelief that says who he is. But they go and they scope it out, and they get to the point to where they had the chance to kill him, and they don't because it was one big joke. And
Danny
it's
thinks he's not actually an assassin. He just thought he was joking with him.
yeah, but well, he does think it at one point he actually is, because he realizes that he has the chance to kill him, and he was so good at it. I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's the next scene where he like finally finds out when they're
Yeah.
having dinner.
I thought it was that point,
You might be right. You might be right.
because they open up the stall, and he's just chilling there, you know, taking a shit, and those two and Danny and Julian bust in and about to kill him, but it was all a joke. But
Yeah.
then Danny and Julian, you know, get to talking more, talk about dinner or talking over dinner, and Julian starts, saying that he needs Danny's help and it'll be really easy. And that's just one mission. and Julian tries to convince him, but Danny doesn't. And like any couple, they get into a fight and they split up and they go their separate ways. And then Julian shows up to his door and apologizes and begs and begs. And right when you're about to learn something, boom, it's gone. The scene cuts. And you go back to Danny being in Denver,
Yep, 6 months later.
and you learn about Julian. And they hint at Julian not being able to complete the mission and about them needing to kill off Julian because of it. And then you get to meet her, and then as they're chilling there, you realize and there was, oh, I forgot, there was one scene whenever in between talking to Julian, or in between Danny talking to Julian and Julian going around, or I thought they hinted at Julian trying to kill himself with the shark in the water, but I guess not, because it was like kind of weird because like he jumps in the pool fully clothed with a Modelo, and he's just chilling there, not even
Uh,
trying to swim or
wasn't
anything.
he only in underwear and like boots?
I think he might have been,
And he was
but
just like
like
walking and everyone was staring at him weird.
yeah, but it was really weird that he was just letting his beer fill up with pool water while there's a great white shark swimming at him because he's hallucinating.
Yeah, I think what it is like since he's, like, he realizes he screwed up and he's now essentially swimming with the sharks. He's
Okay,
about to
that makes
die. That's
sense.
how I took it. He's hallucinating it.
But jump forward, you learn more and more about how Julian is gonna die, and Julian is done. He has too much PTSD, and he can't take killing more people, and he's wants to move on past it, but he can't because he's an assassin. And assassins can't quit. So he pulls up to his only friend Danny's house. One, I think, to escape, but two, to realize that Danny and Julian may have one more mission in them, and if he's gonna go down, he's gonna go down with his buddy. And then him, Julian, and his horny wife, who throughout that entire scene pretty much seemed like she wanted to be banged by both of them.
Yeah, yeah, she did. Can I see your gun?
And can I see your gun? Wanted to dance with him, staring at him. You know,
I
it.
mean, it's Pierce Brosnan. I can't blame her.
Yeah, yeah. But they continue on, and they have a great night drinking, listening to music, having fun.
Drinking
Jewel,
coffee. Well, it was supposed to be coffee, whiskey, 2:30 in the morning.
Julian at one point then convinces Danny that once they go to bed and the night kind of wraps up, then later on Julian convinces Danny to you know one more mission, the last mission,
It's my
the
only way
mission.
I'll get out to survive.
Yeah. And what day of the mission is it? The day of their son's fourth, not anniversary like a good one, but like he
Yeah,
died.
his
So
of
like
his
his fourth year that he's been dead, and they need to celebrate it, but they can't or they can't just do it yet because they have to save Julian from his death as well. And so they they fly to Arizona first class in style, and they get to the horse race to set up, and they kind of goes through the same sequence as when they're at the Matador thing of finding the distraction, then finding the escape route, and they both set up, and Julian's then there to seize Julian, and Danny flawless. He did everything pitch perfect, even though he's the inexperienced one. He did a perfect job. And what happens? Julian has a panic attack again, and he's not able to finish the mission. And what does Danny do? He doesn't then give up. He goes and convinces Julian that this is going to happen.
Mhm.
And he convinces Julian that he must kill this guy. And you know what they do? They kill that guy.
That they do.
And you know who that guy is? Julian's boss. Well, I don't think it was his direct boss, right? It was just the guy who wants him dead because he wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, his boss, yeah. So technically
yeah,
his boss, he says it, yeah.
yeah. And they do that and they make it back. But it's for their son's 4th anniversary. And Julian said he always wanted to retire and go to Greece. But what does he do? He then says, or he then, with the tickets to Greece in his hands, leaves it for Danny and his wife to go. And this movie ends. It was a great movie. It was really funny. I thought that it had great. Wasn't I wouldn't say like. Uh, I'd say it was really good comedy, and it was really like typical film for the time. I thought it was really funny and kind of weird. All the Asian jokes and prostitute jokes and
A lot of
child
prostitutes. Yeah.
sex jokes.
Very horny at points in this movie. Julian is
Yeah,
very horny. Even
yeah,
his wife and Danny are.
yeah. Everybody seems to be horny all the time, which I guess isn't different from nowadays. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good movie. It was uh typical of the time. I wouldn't say it was anything special. Uh but I wouldn't say it was anything. If you had an hour and 30 minutes, I'd recommend that you watch the movie. And
You got any favorite scenes or moments, motifs of the movie?
huh, I really liked the scene of them preparing at the horse races. I thought that was really funny.
The bullfight?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
both the
Oh,
bullfight and the horse
and the
race. I
horse race?
thought,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I thought those were probably my two favorite. And then them chilling at the house. That was pretty good.
Yeah, as much as like it seems like dialogue that wouldn't really happen in that house, I do really like that scene where he just randomly shows up. Danny, didn't think you could remember. You saved the bullfight. Look at you. You got a nice house now. That my favorite part, honestly, is when they keep you guessing. Like, like after Julian asks him to help him with the hit, and he goes knocking on the door to apologize drunk.
Oh my god, I completely forgot. And as they're flying back, Danny talks about Danny and Julian are talking about that night and what happened. And throughout the movie, they constantly brought up, "Did you tell her everything?" And he would always say, "Yeah." And then Julian talks, and he said everything, and they were talking about that night, and it cuts back to that night of where it cut out at the beginning of the movie, and it's Julian or Danny opening the door for Julian and them describing who to kill. And who's that person to kill? The competitor for Danny when he was trying to make that bid with his partner.
Yeah.
And if they killed him, he would have gotten a great job and Julian would have been able to retire. And he couldn't because good people don't win that way, according to Julian. And
Mhm.
he's already won at life because of his wife. And karma wouldn't go in his favor if he killed that person. And I thought it showed a lot of heart for both Julian. It showed a human side to Julian that I thought that, as much of a sex fiend and assassin that man is, there was somebody he finally cared about. It wasn't just him in life.
Yeah, I thought it was just like really kind of clever how they did that where like at the beginning it cuts off and it looks like he leaves him. He doesn't respond or open the door. And then later you find out he opens the door and his retelling of what he told his wife is that they just apologize and it cuts there. And then he keeps saying everything, everything. And then you start going, oh, it's because he's probably killed the guy. So he got the
Yeah.
job and now he has this nice house and they're living well now. And then later on, you finally find out what actually happened. And I thought that was pretty clever is that
Yeah.
he did ask him to kill him, but Julian said no. So if he would have told his wife, yeah, I wanted to kill a man, so I got a better job, she probably would have been like, what the fuck, Danny?
Yeah.
And I also like the motif of the Matador where he's giving the speech at the bullfight when he's like, they don't like it if they don't get a clean kill on the first one, where they have to stab it multiple times.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a pretty good, motif and metaphor for the hitman because he keeps screwing up and missing, and they don't like it. It shows that he's not a good matador and he's no longer a good hitman. Thought that was a
Yeah.
good motif. And I really liked the beginning scene. For some reason, I just love it when he's just sitting there with his shades on. The kid walks up.
Is that your Porsche?
Why he keeps? I'm assuming it is because you keep staring at it.
Mhm.
He's like, "No, didn't your mother tell you never to talk to strangers? That's my mom over there. She thinks you're kind of cute. Well, if your mom lost 80 pounds in about 10 years, maybe I'd think about it." And he's like, "Whatever, man." He's like, would you kindly get the fuck away from me?" And just walks away and it explodes. I thought that was kind of like a good funny scene. One of the
Yeah.
few actually funny. And then I thought it was just really awkward. It gave me like Michael Scott vibes when they're at the bar and he's like, "So what do you do for a living?" And he's avoiding it. And he's like, "Well, my son died in a tragic accident." And he just cuts him off. A midget and a prostitute walk into a bar and he's like, "Julian, what the fuck?" I thought it was
Ye-
just like very office kind of style humor, which makes sense since The Office started coming out in '05.
Yeah. Wait, did it? It came out that early?
Yeah, the American one did. I think the British was 2002,
I
2002.
thought I thought it came out later. I thought it came out. Ah, I guess that actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it kind of fits in with that, cringe humor of The Office mid 2000s.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's cringy. It's just it's great humor for the time.
Yeah, it's awkward.
Yeah, but and any questions you have about me for the movie?
Well, I thought there's a lot of good, I just thought there's pretty decent motifs throughout it of
Yeah,
different stuff like the PTSD. I thought the swimming with the sharks idea, that's how I interpret it, was pretty interesting. I really liked the kind of cliffhanger on whether what actually happened that night, the way they kept cutting it off. And then I really liked the Matador theme of, good hitman gets him in one go, the good Matador kills it in one blow. They don't like it if you have to stab and it's, a painful death for the bull. And then Danny's like, "Oh yeah, this is so great to just randomly kill a bull that has a that has no way to defend itself."
yeah. I mean, I thought you know that swimming in the sharks thing. I didn't even think about that till you brought it up, but it makes so much sense now that you brought it up. And I- it was this movie was it was very well written. Feel like it was very, but it was very subtle, I guess, on some of the things. Like it was like the you would have had if you didn't like get the sarcasm right away, you wouldn't have seen how well it written it was it because it just does seem like a very typical movie for the time.
Yeah, if you when you first time I watched it, I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, "Oh, this is just like the average hitman movie you're gonna see." And I thought it was pretty well done. I mean, there's three really great actors I love in this movie. I mean, even though Adam Scott like does nothing in this movie
Yeah,
except hey, this is a really important sale for us. This is a really important sale for us. And you have Greg Kinnear and Pierce. I thought Pierce and Julian and Danny I thought had really good performances in this. But I will say the one thing I don't like about it is the constant horniness. It's just pretty constant and like a few especially I mean I guess Julian is like, "Oh, I'm trying to sleep, screw, and drink my problems away. But
Yeah, which I guess I feel like that's pretty typical for a hitman and like the ideas, but
I still never get the one scene like you brought up. I don't understand if there's supposed to be a motif behind the painting his nails at the beginning with her.
yeah.
I don't know if there's anything supposed to be besides like weird or I don't know. I don't
Which
know.
I was
I don't know
like,
the point.
maybe they're hinting at like he was like maybe gay or maybe he's like likes to dress up or something like that, but then it just never brought up again. He just paints his nails and then nothing ever happens after that.
Yeah, I that part is like the one part I'm just like I don't understand why this is here. Same thing, honestly, same thing with the whole tree crashing through their house. I don't think it needed to be there. Besides,
Well, yeah, I that
except just
there.
for them to say, "Oh, our bad luck."
Yeah, I just feel like there's just there's some strange things that happen. Well, like what another thing that be like he was very obsessed with the Asian women or like that, and I think like a Thai lady boy is like pretty common, and he's very obsessed with Asian women. And at the beginning of the movie, when right before he paints his nails, he lifts up the covers and like looks under the girl's butt he's with, almost as if he's like, huh. So it'd be kind of really funny if like they hinted him being like gay, but they
Yeah,
just never mentioned it.
yeah. The one last final thing I'll say is I think I kind of like it because since he's doing missions in all these exotic places, there's some pretty good shots. For some reason, I forgot about it till just now. I remember like when he's talking with his boss at the when he's watching the ballerinas and you see the reflection,
Uh-huh.
and it's I just thought that was like a really cool shot of
Yeah.
like how you perfectly see the reflection in it as there's like this beautiful dance going on, and it's like they're talking about you screwed up, you're a dead man, dude, and he's just like I'm enjoying the dance of the ballerinas.
Yeah. I mean, they
I
did.
thought it was a good shot.
Oh no, there were some great shots. The ending shot with like them showing them crying at the grave while they were able to show him at the same time in the mirror walking away and being really happy that he had somebody in his life. I thought it was a great shot.
That was a good shot too, yeah, with the
Yeah.
lining up in the mirror.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I guess what are your final
I would give it a 3.5.
3.5?
Yep.
I'm gonna give it go slight edge and give it a 4 just because I think
Yeah. I
it's
feel.
a lot different to me than most things out there,
Hmm.
and I kind of like it for that. And plus, the humor isn't that funny, except I like the cringe out factor of like it's so awkward and how you would respond,
Yeah. I
like
mean,
with
I
Julian's
the
comments.
humor, it's not like it wasn't a comedy, but it wasn't unfunny. It was good humor.
Yeah, it to me it was like I think the scene alone that carries it is the setup scene of that bullfight, though. I think that was like really well done
Yeah.
of explaining it. But yeah, I give it 4. Chris gives it a good 3.5. I think this is the second lowest rated film according to Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's 75%. Yep. Letterbox is a 3.3. Ouch. You agree with Letterbox essentially.
Maybe.
Letterbox gives it a 3.3 out of 5. 75 on Rotten Tomatoes. But I guess
I
that's
think
it.
it's I think it's well worth the watch if you have the time.
Yeah, if you don't, if you just want a kind of quick, enjoyable movie, easily digestible, with a few pretty nice motifs in there, this is a good one. If you
All right.
like a Hitman movie, it's pretty good. But I guess that is it for this week. And next week, Christopher Mundo will be tossing me the movie for the week. Hope it's a good
Yep.
one. Hope it's a good one. All right, signing out.
Adios.
Adios, amigos.